This freaking wizarding world.
I know, man. Hello, everyone.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined by quite a gang. We're here to talk about Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. A surprise. I guess actually the first question that we'll probably get to is who saw this coming? Like on Monday, just dropping it out of the blue. Kind of changed the game up a little bit. So as always, all of this panel, all their links are in the description below if you guys want to check it out. But we're here to just talk about the potential of it, the play test. I don't think any of us are in it. So there's that. I'd like to know actually who is in the thing. I don't think I've seen anybody even on Twitter or other creators even outside of us that have said they're in it. So I do wonder who's allowed. But let's go down the line. I'm sure everybody knows who everybody is. Again, you can check out their links in the description. Who saw this coming? What's everybody's excitement like? And then we'll start to break down, some of the potential and what even they could do beyond Quidditch, because they have teased, that there's going to be more than just that. So who saw this happening?
Not me at all. I mean, I was still at work when Sly posted the link in the Discord we have. I was like, wait, what's this? At first, I was like, oh, another mobile game. So I was posed a question like, what's this? And then as soon as I saw PC and console, I was like in my chair squealing like a little girl. I was so excited. And yeah, I mean, a few of you guys have mentioned your videos about no leaks or anything, especially with like Hogwarts Legacy, there was the huge leak way back when. There's not being like a word about this. We've all speculated and hoped, but yeah, just to drop it on a nice little Monday where there was not much going on. Oh, it was crazy, and yeah, so excited for this. Just the multiplayer aspect. I'm a huge sort of esports guy. I used to play like a lot of FIFA professionally, especially pro clubs. Where you play as one position. So yeah, this is right up my street, this sort of game. I'm just excited to see what happens because we know so little.
Yeah, definitely didn't see it coming, but I know, Alex, you and I have had some conversations about we think it's coming, but when? It's essentially when is it going to happen? But no, definitely not this week, especially with all the news the end of last week, the beginning of this week, and then, the bigger games right around the corner in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. But I'm super excited for this. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I really didn't see this coming at all. It came completely out of the blue. It was one of the things we sort of said we'd wish they'd do. I just didn't think it was going to be in there. And I really like the art style. I really like the way it looks. It's not going for like the realism. It looks like it's going to be a fun. And I'm the same as kind of like I've been playing FIFA and all that sort of stuff as well. And the idea of playing like esports side of things, just I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I mean, of course I saw it coming. I mean, that was evident. No, not really. It came as a shock, as a surprise. I think that we were all still sort of getting away a little bit from Hogwarts Legacy, and then they just came like a punch in the gut and go, "Hey guys, by the way, this is happening," right? And I think they're playing this out really, really good. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this because we've played Hogwarts Legacy, even though the last gen people are going to start flooding. But the majority of people, I'd like to think, have played Hogwarts Legacy. Now we have this game, and we're going to talk about this later also, but I think it's going to be released at the end of the year. And I think that this is basically, they're dropping it. And after we're done with that, we're going to get the Hogwarts Legacy DLC. I think that's basically the timeline they're doing. I think it's beautifully done, to be honest. And I think it is a game that we have long waited for. So, yes, excited.
I didn't expect it at all. Not one bit. I was still in the mindset like, well, maybe they're going to do a Quidditch DLC and like Hogwarts Legacy. But then again, I was also thinking like, well, why not just make it its own game? Which a lot of people were saying, and I know Alex predicted it too. So it was just like, I really had no expectations going into it. So it caught me off guard completely to the point where I missed like the announcement by like an hour.
Yeah. I've said it before. Like I saw the announcement. I saw the tweet that said to sign up for the playtest first. And I half thought it was like a mobile thing. So I signed up and I was like, I don't even know. I truly did not know what I was doing. And I went back on Twitter and I was like, oh, this is a legit Quidditch game, like WB. It's got the FAQ. And that's literally, I found it out backwards. So it was definitely a odd reveal for sure, but like it. You know, a lot of people kind of mixed, I think, on the visuals. I'm with Last Marauder. I like it. It reminds me so much of Multiverses. I feel like this is like the exact same idea with these kind of cartoony kind of style. So I guess to start, what are you guys expecting of this game? And that could be either Quidditch or, you know, modes outside of Quidditch. I know we were talking right before we went live about how the struggles it may have working, you know, Quidditch as a game. We'll get there, but what do you kind of, and I'll shift everybody over by one, what's everybody kind of expecting this game to do just in general? So we'll start with Sway and we'll go down.
I expect there to be a lot of modes. I think like we were talking about earlier, like a lot of Mario Kart, like just Mario inspiration, where there can be a lot of different things, even like taking aspects from Rocket League, FIFA, like just throwing a lot there. It's a lot you could do, like even like things with like the ghosts, characters that you implement, like characters that they bring in, like character creation, like the possibilities truly are endless for what they could do with it. Honestly, to the point where it's overwhelming and it's kind of hard to pinpoint like what to actually say there. But
yeah, with obviously not knowing if it's going to be like a free to play, if it's going to be a full price. We don't know exactly what type of game it's going to be just yet. I feel like I'm expecting way too much again. When I first saw it, my mind was racing. Things like a career mode. You take your guy, you start at Hogwarts. You then go and play for some reserves. Then you play in the Quidditch League, and then eventually like a World Cup, things like that. But yeah, I feel, the thing I most want from this game is just I feel like it's sort of being hinted at is us guys, we can all six of us here can just get together and we can play a position each, and we can play against other people, sort of like My Park Pro Club, sort of just fun experience, just play with your friends, nothing too serious. And yeah, I feel that's until like we know what sort of game it is, and obviously we've talked about we might hear whispers and little things coming out over the next few days from the playtests. I feel then I can start forming that sort of solid opinion of what I really expect from this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to take more of like a 3-on-3 freestyle. If anybody ever played that game, it's a basketball game, which is like old. It's an old game, but they started off essentially with a ranked mode and then an unranked mode. So you could play pubs or, level up your characters. But then later on, they added squads. So I don't think they're going to start off with like a dynasty like Connor's talking about, but I could see them adding it later on. I definitely think they're going to do a battle pass. And I think this is just going to be fun. And I think that's the root of what everyone wants with this. It's because, I mean, who doesn't want to be in the wizarding world just having fun with all of your friends, playing a cartoony game where you can smack somebody with a bat and, throw balls into a ring? It's just going to be fun. There's going to be good memories made. And that's essentially all I want from it.
Yeah, one of the first things I was going to say was a battle pass is pretty much going to be a guaranteed. Surely, they could do so much with it if you buy the battle pass out and you unlocking different brooms, different skins, it's just going to be like so cool. And you can just the customization element, I think, is going to be like one of the main draws of this game for me. I have no idea how this game's going to play. I've been trying to think about it in my head of how to actually make a Quidditch game is going to work. And I have no idea how they're going to do it. So I'm glad I'm not in game development, because this is a big challenge for them to make it work properly. But I think you probably have some simple some simple games, a bit of 3-on-3. You probably have a solo mode where you can just play as maybe everyone. But then obviously, you pass into yourself if you're playing in that sort of role. Maybe you'd have sort of different sections. So if you was playing on your own, you'd have to pick whether you're going to be a chaser, a beater, or a keeper, or I don't know if they'd even do keepers, but yeah. And then I think they will have an online mode where you'll have, every single person will be its own person, a bit like pro clubs, and that will be the big draw for it. I think if they can make this game right, the esports side of things is the massive draw for this game.
Yeah, and I think it's really going to be a combination of what all of us have said, right? I think that we're probably going to start doing the trials for a specific house at Hogwarts, and then you do the positions, like almost like a tutorial, so you see which positions are fit for you, which one you like the most. You try out the mechanics of the game. Then you're gonna start, almost like Quidditch World Cup. You would start with the Hogwarts, and then you would move on to the world, like the regional and then world, very much like most obvious football and soccer games out there. I think there's going to be cosmetics. I think there's going to be brooms. We don't know if there's going to be any sort of like loot boxes or anything like that. Get this clothing or this broom or whatever, or if it's going to be like a challenge approach. One thing that I want to emphasize is what they said right in their Q&H, which is other broomstick activities or broomstick flights, right? So it's not just Quidditch matches, right? There's going to be other things involved in this game, probably like races outside. You could do like 1v1 in that format as well. It gets trickier as we start talking about the actual match, right? How many people would be required to play a match, right? 4 people, right? To body those key positions, right? Otherwise, is it going to be like Quidditch World Cup where the seeker position is basically broken, right? I believe Dylan was referring to that, where like you get the snitch 150 points, right? And you're gonna trust that to the AI, or are you gonna play it? So that's when things get a little bit interesting.
Yeah. So let's tackle some of those. I know you guys in the chat have already kind of answered, but about the beta yesterday, you should have gotten that. As a couple of us were saying, couch co-op. Well, you guys, really quickly, do you think couch co-op? I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think
if
so.
they have a 1v1 mode, then yes. If not, though, I think they'll have data telling you it's not played enough to have it.
Yeah.
Like I think people are going away from couch co-op a little bit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Let's tackle Dylan's question. That's probably the most important, to be honest with you. Sticking to lore, keeper position or seeker position broken. So I know we had kind of alluded to it. How do you do this thing? How do you actually make? So if you were to predict right now, how would you break it up if you were making it? How do you think does Quidditch actually work as a video game? It certainly doesn't really work as a creation.
I think in the lamest, and again, I'm not a game developer, and I don't know many of the things that they could do. I have some suggestions, and I think the simplest method, which would be, I don't know if it would work very well, but I was thinking perhaps time constraints for the seeker position. You have a specific time, the AI, and that's considering you're by yourself, right? You're not playing with anybody else. You have a time, and you're going against the time. You're trying to find the seeker. The golden snitch, but you'd be following a time. That's really the only thing that comes to my mind as to how they would try to fix that position. I can't really think anything else on top of my head.
Yeah, I would have to second that. I couldn't think of anything else outside of a time restraint, because that would like limit the amount of time you would have to catch it. It would kind of balance everything out versus you just being able to get 150 points just for catching it, kind of. So I don't know what else you could necessarily do either, other than probably time.
Yeah, I mean, looking obviously at the graphics and how the design of this game, it's going to be quite an arcadey, quite fast-paced sort of game, I feel. And when you're online, 4v4, quite similar to My Park, NBA, FIFA, and things. The games last 3, 4, 5 minutes, 6 minutes and a half sort of thing. But yeah, I feel like it'll be a time constraint, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And pending that, maybe, not maybe if you're playing by yourself, all the rules still apply. But maybe sort of like a online 3v3, 4v4, the snitches were 50 points, something like that. But yeah, I feel like time constraints, making these games quick, fast-paced, 5 minutes sort of games will help solve that in a way. So if someone doesn't catch a snitch in 5 minutes, it just goes on, how many points you've scored, how many goals you've scored with the chasers.
I'm going to go off on a little weird tangent here. I think it's like the funniest thing when I get comments on my YouTube channel or when I read other people's, they're like, well, you know, in this book of the Harry Potter franchise, they did this and this. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I know. I read the books. So when you read the books, right, Victor Crumb caught the snitch, but they lost in the World Cup. So Seeker's not as overpowered as people think, but I think the way they balance it is by making the Seeker the hardest position to play. And I think that has to be, you know, either it's a long quick time event to really catch the snitch, or the other Seeker, like in the movies and stuff, you can bump into the other person. So right when they're about to catch it, you can knock them off their broom, or you can push them, or you can hit a bludger at them. It has to be the hardest position to make everything feel balanced, because the keeper is also going to be hard because they have to protect 3 nets, but there's 3 chasers. So that's probably going to be pretty easy. So I think if you're doing time, it would be really hard for the snitch to come out at the same time every match, because if it's, say, 5 minutes until the snitch comes out, the Seeker's going to be doing nothing. So I think you have to vary that time. So this match, it's going to be 30 seconds. The next match is going to be 7 minutes. So it's like you don't know as a Seeker when it's going to come out. But difficulty to me is like the easiest way to just say it's not that hard, or it's not overpowered.
I think there's 2 ways they could do it. And one, I think, yeah, I agree, Nate. Just make it a difficult challenge to, like, if you are looking for the snitch, it's got to be really difficult to find, or literally impossible to find, and it is really like an actual skill gap. And then it would be really interesting to see, because there could be some games that could actually go on for a very, very long time, which would be really interesting. But the only other way they could do it is potentially they could have, oh, have you heard of this new tournament that's coming out now? Yeah, it's going on throughout the whole of, like, you know, the Wizarding World. It's called Quidditch Champions. Oh, what's the difference? Oh, it's you know, the only way to win a match is to get to 150 points, and, like, you know, and then change it completely. But I mean, it is such a hard thing to try and balance, because it is such a vital position. And the other thing they've got to balance as well is, if you sort of considering maybe playing online co-op, if somebody lags out who is in that position, and when you're stuck with an AI playing in that position, that's pretty much guaranteed a loss. So,
yeah, I mean, throwing a curveball to all of that is like, if you're playing, you're just you, right, single player, and you're going out there, would it be possible that they would invoke the same mechanics that Quidditch World Cup did, where you can select the players as you're playing the match? Right, so you got the quaffle, and now you're going and you're passing, and then you select a beater because you see the Seeker going for it. That that it would be very busy, but I mean, Quidditch World Cup did it right. You could select a different type of players as the game progressed. And the only problem with what I said as well, like the whole time thing, is like, like Nate said, there were games also that took months to finish, in according to the lore of Harry Potter. So, by setting up a timer, it kind of does away with all of that, right? Like, how long is it going to take for you to get the golden snitch? Because it's all just a point. It's 150 points. That's all it is, and the game ends, right? And like Nate, Nate said, you might have scored a lot more points with a quaffle, and still win the game, right? So it'll be a very interesting dynamics, and I really hope that they come up with something interesting, like they did with the combat in Hogwarts Legacy, something unique, because if it's the same thing that we saw with Quidditch World Cup, it's going to be, for me anyways, it's going to be kind of a bummer.
If they do this, if they do it as like an actual gameplay mechanic, it would have to be procedurally generated as well, because it will get to the point that if you figure out, oh, it's come out at 2 minutes 47, this is a path it's going to take, and they just follow that path, because you'll know. So it's going to have to be some sort of procedural generation to stop that from happening.
In ranked, people would just be right on top of it. Like they would know exactly when it would come out. But I like Fizz K's comment, Alex, if you can throw that up there.
This one? Or
No, the more recent one. The only thing I would twist with this is, instead of someone switching positions, maybe if you're the Seeker position, you have to fill up your meter by being close to the snitch for a certain amount of time, and then you can grab it. So it's like you essentially have to fill up a bar to be able to grab it.
Approach.
Right. You can't just straight fly up to it and grab it, which would add difficulty because then you have to fly at a certain speed to stay up to it.
That's why I was going. That's like obviously past Potter games. There was the rings. There's like the streak in Quidditch World Cup. Like, what visual would there be any visual aids that the Seeker sees, or would it just be trying to find this little golden ball, which would obviously play into your fearing it and making it difficult? Just it's damn near impossible to see it cutting all over the wood sort of thing. Yeah. So in past games, you had all the visual aids, and you had to go through the rings to fill up that meter to try and catch the snitch. Like, what would the gameplay mechanics be for catching the snitch in this one?
Yeah.
If you had to stay there for a long time, it would put a lot of emphasis on beaters as well. I think beaters would be quite a crucial role to try and knock them away from that.
Yep.
It's a little Star Wars Battlefront, like when everybody's racing to like the token to be Darth Vader or something. That's what that reminds me of. It's the time frame implemented with buffs and debuffs balancing out certain play styles. Yeah, it's gonna be like that's to me. Now I made the video, the 4 questions for this game. If I were to rank them, the microtransactions, because I like the idea of a battle pass. I think it suits this game really well, like we were all saying. Patronuses, costumes, brooms, all that stuff. That works fine. The issue, of course, is if it's free to play, money needs to be involved somehow. It's Warner Bros. And that could go wrong really, really quickly, even if you trust the studio. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is just, each position. So do you think, and we'll swap everybody, do you think it'll be fun to play as everyone or is that the most important thing to you? Like, what do you maybe think is the most important thing this game needs to do?
I kind of hope they make all positions fun to play, so that you have sort of specialities. Like, when I was playing FIFA, for instance, I played as a centre back or a central defensive in midfield, and it's not normally a position that a lot of people want to play. But I played it because I was good at it and I enjoyed playing that position. Most people want to play like on the wings or scoring goals. You know what I mean? Like, but if they make the positions well enough and diverse enough and play well, then I think that the likelihood is everyone's going to want to play in different positions, and you will find your one that suits your play style the most, that you're best at. But hopefully it will. And just on the note of the battle pass and transactions, if they start releasing skins for this, I know I'm going to spend so much money.
It doesn't tie to pay to win.
Yeah, I don't think this game will be free. I personally don't think it will. I think that it will. My honest opinion is that this game will be on the low end as far as price is concerned, and they are going to have things like cosmetic appearance, and cosmetic boxes where the people can actually buy different things, because they've been, weirdly enough, they have been focusing, if you look at social media, talking a lot about customization all of a sudden, right? So I think there is a reason why, and I think there's going to be a massive push as far as that's concerned, and I think that's going to come in the form of paid format. As far as the actual, now with that said, I hope that they don't do anything that is going to destroy the gameplay, like Hogwarts Mystery did, where you couldn't really move on until you either paid or waited 2 years to go to the next level. As far as what I hope that they do I think honestly is like it's balancing game to make sure that every position feels important to that person, right? Because I might want to play as a seeker, but someone else might love to play as a beater. And how do you balance that out, right? Whether with buffs and debuffs, or like RPG style, where as you win the game or as you do certain moves, or you start accruing certain things, and then there's going to be a skill tree for each position where you can spend points on those skill trees, and you can get better with your throw or with your broom, how fast your moves, right? All of that. So I think that's really one of the only ways to balance that game. But I think that balancing it will be the most important thing, because if certain positions feel better than others, then it starts to create sort of a divide, if you will.
Positions and microtransactions for me. Positions one, because when people are loading into the game, I don't know how they're going to go about it. But when you're trying to start a game, I don't know if they're going to have people pick their positions before the game starts. And you really don't want to be sitting there held up because everybody's trying to be a seeker and nobody wants to be beater or keeper. Like you really don't want that, and that's going to hold up a lot of gameplay. So positions being fun, diverse, and just overall working well, I think it's important. And then microtransactions need to be respectful as well. Depending on whether if it's paid, like you pay for the game, or whether the game is free to play, I believe the biggest thing is if you implement a battle pass in either one of those, they need to be done respectfully with prices being reasonable. And I would like to see them go more of a Halo route with it, where if you buy something, like if you buy a battle pass for that month, you get to keep it, and no matter how long it takes you to finish it. That's something I would also like to see implemented. But regardless, microtransactions can ruin a game just as much as the game not working. So they really need to be careful with that.
Yeah, going FIFA hat on again, going back to Sway's point of like when you're picking your positions, in FIFA you have these drop-in matches, and it is a nightmare trying to get your position. It is 11 random people having a free-for-all, wanting to play striker, wanting to score the goals, and just having the defenders left. And the worst thing is, in FIFA, you have your pro designed for a position for that game, so you might be a striker and having to play in the net and stuff. So I feel like it's important in that sense. If we are going to have that, obviously there's less positions as well in Quidditch. Maybe it is. I want to see though, where you model your player. I think Nate was talking about it before. I can't remember if it was before the screen or on the screen. Modeling your player to a specific position, and then you leveling it up in that position. And once you get to the best rating in that position, you then start at the bottom again for being a keeper, beater. I think the most important thing for me is having like skill gaps in these positions, especially things like beaters. You're going to be hitting blocks. It's tactical. I want them to be a bit of a skill to it. So there's a specific way to hit it, to knock the quaffle out of the chaser's hands, or to knock the seeker off course. Yeah, I feel like positions got to have a bit of skill to it rather than just a button mashing mess where there's a beater just hitting bludgers left, right, and it's just easy. You just press A, for example, and your team won the quaffle back. So I feel like having a bit of a skill involved in these positions, making seeker being hard, having a skill to how to hit a bludger, special passes and moves when you're a chaser and things. I think that's quite important as well to keep it fresh and exciting. So there is a way to get better, and you want to keep playing more rather than after 2 months. This is just like baby's first video game. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to me is the price and kind of microtransactions. I wouldn't be surprised, and I can't remember either if it was said on stream, but I think they might drop this summer. And what they would do would be put it into an early access stage where they can constantly update it, and you essentially need to buy a $20 founders edition to get access to the game. So for a year or 18 months, if you want to play it, it's $20. But then when they actually release the game after they're done testing, you can play it for free. But on PlayStation, to push updates weekly, you have to be in early access. That's why Fortnite for so long was not a full release game. And that's what people don't understand. And they sort of changed those rules a little bit so Fortnite could keep pushing updates. But honestly, in my opinion, I think the reason why Fortnite works with so many cosmetics is because characters don't have like upgrades. They're strictly cosmetic. So if you make everything in the game only leveling up the battle pass and not actually leveling up your character, it would be completely balanced. Because if you don't, you're going to have me playing 3,000 hours versus you playing 5 hours, and I'm going to come in and destroy you because my dude's level 99, and you're not going to want to ever play the game again. If you take out the player upgrades, it would make things a little bit more balanced. And to the point of what you guys were talking about with matchmaking before, a lot of games, like even 2K, do it where if you search as, for example, a seeker, you would only find positions that you don't need. So if you or Alex, me, and Sway all went into a match together, we were all 3 different positions, I would add the other positions needed for us rather than us just like Rogue Company, for an example, putting random people in there and you select your character. They do the same thing with Overwatch. So I think there's a lot of choices they can make. It's just, what are they going to pick? What are they going to do?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think I think it's maybe easier, at least from the consumer, picking it in a menu. You're only certain. And I think again, I mentioned like the killer games like Predator or Friday the 13th. You'll go in knowing I'm going to be Jason, or I want to be. It's preferred you're that person, and then you're just searching for the other group. And I don't know how hard that is for them to implement, but it's definitely easiest on the consumer. Yeah, and then
do you think we'll have like a full pro clubs type thing situation?
I think it'll be added later. I think that won't be on release, depending on, like, if the game comes out next fall, sure, maybe they have the time for it. The game's been in development for, they said, over 3 years, so maybe. But if it's dropped in the next 5 months, I think it's just going to be 1 or 2, maybe 3 modes, and then they'll add stuff later.
Because that would be the way I think that it would play out best, is if you could sit there with your friends and like go, right, or say all 6 of us here, like, you want to play as a goalkeeper, you 3 want to play as a seeker, I'm happy to play as a beater, and we've got a chaser, got a seeker. Like, if we knew what our positions were going to be, and then we could design our own team, we could design our own flags, we could design our own kits, design our own stadium, exactly the same as what FIFA does with pro clubs, and then we can jump into matches against other people who have set up their teams, and then have that sort of tournament side of things. I think that would be the best way this would run. That was where I sort of always pitched it being, but everyone else seems to be sort of saying it as a different way, and it's sort of intriguing.
I think that'll be huge, like for the hardcore and keeping the game alive, and for esports, that's that.
That could just be done in ranked.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, you could just go into ranked with all your friends, or you could go into pubs. I think, like, with any multiplayer game today, if you have a party, you're going to be more successful than if you're going in by yourself. And I mean, if you're going in, if the 6 of us are going into pubs and it's 5 random people that are playing together, like they've never met, we're going to destroy them. It's just like what happens.
And the play test closed in the sense that, the invites are out, but there'll be waves. I think Nate's actually right on the money with founders packs. I think I mentioned that in the video. I think that's the new age of Disney Dreamlight Valley, the Speedstorm, that racing game that just came out like 2 days ago. That did it. So I think, the issue is those founder packs can be insane, like 30, 40, sometimes
as
even 50
long as I don't do what Star Citizen has been doing.
Yeah. What a game.
Like, I bought the Founders Pack for Rogue Company, and like, I've said Rogue Company a couple times, Alex, around you, and not very many people know what it is. But it's like, what they did was, if you bought the Founders Pack for $20 or $30, there was 2 different editions. It gave you either all the characters, or it gave you the first season's battle pass, or it gave you something like that. So if it's going to be $20 and they're going to give me the first battle pass, I'm totally fine with it. Like, that is 100% fine with me. But if I'm just paying for access to the game, because then I'll have to buy the battle pass, and then I'll have to do all this stuff. That's where it kind of gets hairy.
Yeah. So let's swap it again. What do you guys think about the date? Sly had teased it earlier. So do we think this year? I know we mentioned, the summer before. How do you think, we've already kind of danced around it, early access gets then into the full release? How do you think, the order is going to go here?
I'll be brief. Like I said, I think it's going to be early access this summer, because I think if it comes out near or around Starfield and Spider-Man, it's going to get destroyed. Even with the Wizarding World having a huge pull, I think it's going to be destroyed. So I think you either need to do it this summer, early access, or late this year, next year. So that would be like December, January, or even fall next year. I would guess summer this year or next fall.
I would like it to be summer this year. It's such a difficult question to answer without seeing anybody playing it or hear any feedback or anything like that, because this game could be absolutely atrocious at this stage, and they might need another 2 years for it to be worked on. We really have other than a very short clip, we've seen no gameplay. We don't even know how it's going to play. We don't even know how many positions are playable. I'd love it to be this year, but at the same time, the same with Hogwarts Legacy, I want them to make a game that's worth playing. So I'd be happy for them to take another year and a half if they just keep doing play tests and that sort of stuff. So yeah, soon as possible is the answer. But as soon as possible for a good game.
Yeah, I actually so I don't think they would have released or opened for playtest if the game wasn't at a point where it's developed to and playable. And that honestly, as they open up these playtests, as they start to ramping up their social, their marketing and everything else, I think they're getting to a point where the game is pretty close to being done. I think my sort of approximation is at the end of the fall of this year, probably. Let's say probably November timeframe or closer to December, before the holidays. I think it would be great. There's a lot of things that go into the marketing of before the holidays, and I think it would be a very good time for it. I hope Nate is right. I hope it's the summer. It would be absolutely phenomenal to be playing this game now.
Before we go to Sway and Connor, I want to just throw out the only thing comparison, but I do think it could be something. So I go to Multiverses. Multiverses playtest was 2022 from February 25th to March 7th. I believe that game came out in early access in August, maybe. Yeah. So about 5-6 months after the playtest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
the only other
exactly the same.
question is Harry Potter Magic Awakened, but we don't need to get into that. When are they going to release
Lord.
that?
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Didn't
But I think
release
actually
more
Nate-
playtesting and stuff like that today.
Oh my god.
There's been playtesting for Skull and Bones going on for about 4 years.
That's different. But I think Nate could be on to it if you literally just follow Multiverses. It could be August or September. Then would be early access. But
If
we'll
it's
have
got
Sway go.
If it's got early access, I could see it being summer. Ideally, I would think holiday season, because I think that November or December is far enough away from Starfield and Spider-Man. And number two, obviously, it's holiday season. You're about to get Christmas and all that thing and all that jazz. And you got gift cards, and the target audience is really going to be the youngest target audience you can possibly hit for. So you want as much as that money. You want the kids that's going to spend money on cosmetics on Fortnite. That's what you want. So I believe the height of getting the most money out of it from a business perspective would be around holiday season. So that would be far enough from the two biggest hitters. It would be right around the time when you can make the most money off of the game. I just think that whether it's paid or free to play, I think holiday season would make the most sense. But if it's got an early access, I could definitely see summer.
It's like deja vu again, speaking about a game, a Wizarding World game coming out at holiday 2023. I'm going, October, November, that sort of time, late this year. But with the information about Multiverses, quite a similar style game, having similar style playtesting out in 5-6 months after. So Nate could be on something. I hope we are. I hope we are sat here in beginning of August having a little live stream like this, talking about a week to go before release, and we'll be all playing it and things. But I do feel end of the year sort of time gives it enough time, because we're talking about multiple play testing. That's got to be spaced out in between improvements, things like that. So I wonder how many we are going to do on them. 2, 3, 4. They've not really made it clear. And then does a beta count into that? They've not, obviously. We're 5 days into knowing about this game. So but hopefully as soon as possible, like Last Marauder said.
Yeah, that space thing's interesting. Like Diablo did that beta just a few weeks ago, and then the rumors are they're going to do another one. And you're running out of weeks before the game comes out, so maybe like a 3-week break, maybe monthly. You do right now you do it end of May, end of June, and then you launch it end of July or August. I want nothing more than over the summer, the worst months of the year for gaming, to have this league kind of thing of all these friends and content creators coming together. That'd be freaking awesome.
Well, it won't be July 25th because that will be the Switch release, unless that gets pushed back. But imagine them just like saying, "Hey, this is going to drop September 1st." Yeah. I wouldn't play Starfield then.
I wonder when after the play test, you guys are bringing up good points. I do think we're going to see it. I said that before the camera went live. I think over the next couple of days, if you're an astute follower, of the internet, you'll probably find something of not saying like I'm going to leak. I'm sure I'm not even in it. None of us, for those that maybe join or watch this afterwards, none of us are in it. But I'm sure somebody will leak it. Somebody will upload it. Tom Henderson will talk about it. Like something will happen, and we'll see footage of like the opening of it being like announced and the two teams flying out. Like, we'll see something like that. And but then they have to do like a 3, 4, 5 minute little presentation of here's the game for everybody. Maybe around E3 time. With that being dead. Well, I'm almost out of questions. Does anybody? We can look at.
I have a question so I was just thinking, we're all talking about the Patronus offline a little bit and why they showed a random Patronus in this opening trailer. So one of the things that I was thinking is, do you guys think that they are going with the Magic Awaken approach where people are going to be able to release things into the game to help them, i.e. Dementors or other beasts or anything like that? Obviously that goes against all sorts of rules of Quidditch, but I've been just like trying to crack my head and go like, why would they put a Dementor in there, right? I don't think it's going to be the narrative of, we're gonna play the years and then third year the Dementor comes and we're like, oh, expect a Patronum. Like what else would they show that sort of like tertiary, sort of weapon, if you will, that you could potentially use in a game? Right. What do you guys think about that?
In other modes. I think that can be introduced in other modes easily. Like maybe not the main like ranked mode, but easily they can do that in another mode within the game for sure.
Adding like fun things like a Mario Kart where you're throwing stuff at each other just for fun. But honestly, I think that's going to be a lot of pre and post match podium celebrations. Like maybe when you're introducing the team as the game's loading in, hey, I've got this Patronus emote and it's the otter and this is what I'm doing. Or after you score or after you have the top 3 performers of the Quidditch match, you do your emote that you want to do, and it's a Patronus, or it's you kissing the trophy. I think almost every single thing they showed in that trailer was a celebration, like an emote. Yeah. If you watch it back, they all look like something you would do either after you score, where you like roll the quaffle on your back. Like they all look like celebration type things, emotes.
Yeah,
I think that also has potential to just like Hogwarts Legacy in certain aspects use the Wizarding World app, because this one has more of a artistical art style. I could easily see them letting you port your character from the Wizarding World app to the game, and it wouldn't look too far off either. Especially with like your Patronus, for example. If you wanted to do that as an emote, it would be your exact Patronus from the game. Just something minor, but I believe that that's something that they could easily do with the game having the art style that it does.
There's 152 Patronuses, so that is at least 3 seasons of content that they could add in. If they give you 5 Patronuses a season as a battle pass, you could go on for literally years to collect all the Patronuses.
We talked about Hogwarts Legacy of, I think a lot of us were on the side of too many to animate and whatnot, and then this will ironically be the game that does all of them.
That's just a quick,
which is hilarious.
Though.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, let me ask this. This is a question that people have. Oh, well, actually, I was going to bring this up earlier to stick it to game journalists because I love to do that. So I've seen a lot of articles, even from sites that I really like, talking about players are upset that they're making a standalone game versus it being, actually Sway had mentioned that earlier, versus being a DLC for Hogwarts. So a couple parts. Number one, do you believe yourself? Like, are you upset about it? Number two, actually it's 3 parts. Number 2, do you think other people are upset? And number 3, do you think this stops Quidditch from being in Hogwarts Legacy 2? Or is it still mandatory that they do it? This maybe one of the last questions, but this is a tough one.
We'll go 2 and 3 first. 2, I don't really care what other people think, because if this game is fun, I'm going to play the shit out of it.
You don't want to say anything about game journalists?
Monetization. No, I don't care. I already got blocked by Rebecca Valentine because
it's after 15 seconds, man. You're good.
Yeah. 3, I think they sealed their own fate by saying that it was canceled for the year. So unless they add a whole nother year expansion to Hogwarts Legacy, I don't think we're getting Quidditch ever. Back to the first question, I am super happy they're doing it, and here's why. I think the unrealistic art style that they're doing fares well for multiplayer games because there's less rendering to do and it's easier and smoother to have in a multiplayer game. Also, it adds better customization and diversity. You can add POC hair colors, you can add different types of mohawks that can be pink, orange, green, and it all renders smoothly and cartoony so that everyone can feel included. And that's at the end of the day what we want. We want everyone to be able to make their own character, looking like them, doing whatever they want. Sure, it's a little bit cartoony, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be easier for them to make this. And a 3-year development cycle on a cartoon animated game is a lot easier to put out than an ultra realistic Hogwarts Legacy. So yes, I am glad it is a different style.
I'm really sorry, Alex, mate. Can you answer the questions again? I went off on a tangent on my brain. I was seeing how many Quidditch teams there were.
Just a journalist. How do you think it affects Hogwarts Legacy 2? Do you like that this is a standalone versus being DLC? Does it stop? Well, Nate, did you? If they made a Hogwarts Legacy 2, is Quidditch mandatory to you now? I know you said 1. Okay.
No, I just think it's, if you honestly want it in there, you would have to bring this team over to probably make the flying mechanics and all the mechanics of the game, then take the Hogwarts Legacy Avalanche studio to then add in their graphics and all their animation. So it would just be a whole jumble. I think what we're going to see in the next 5 years is probably 5 to 10 different style Wizarding World games. And this is like the first step other than Harry Potter Magic Awakened and then Hogwarts Legacy. Don't know.
Gotcha.
I think this has no impact on Hogwarts Legacy. I said from the start, if there's going to be Quidditch, I want it to be separate. I want it to be a completely different team, focusing on making the right gameplay. It's not something that you can just shoehorn into a massive game. It needs to be done properly. It needs to be done well. Otherwise, it's just going to feel rubbish, and there's no point in playing it. The art style and the direction they've gone with this is exactly how I would have done it. I think it's perfect. It allows you to add sort of fun elements to it as well, because you want this game to be fun. You want, if they've got this sort of cartoony effect, they can add like finishing moves as such, or special passes, or you know what I mean? Like if you can unlock a certain emote, then potentially you can unlock an emote in game that you can use when you're hitting the bludger and stuff like that. So there's just things they can add to it in this art style that you wouldn't be able to add to in the real art style. And Hogwarts Legacy 2 shouldn't have Quidditch, because there's no way of them doing it properly. There is no way of them adding it into the game with it being a decent enough addition. I'd rather them focus on adding more story, more characters, more. I mean, if they wanted to add some mini games in there, add chess, add gobstones. Don't go on a big game like this. Just add stuff in that's going to actually be worth the content for that specific game, not for this game.
Yeah, and like everybody else, I agree that Quidditch, because of its complexity, should 100% be its own game, so that the devs can focus on what works and make that, a game, right? And I think this was in the playbooks since the beginning, because Hogwarts Legacy was building, right? Because Hogwarts Legacy was in production for 5-6 years. Quidditch has been in production for about 3 years. So halfway through, they were like, "Oh no, by the way, this game is going to happen." And so they built the Quidditch just like they built a lot of Hogwarts rooms that were empty, just so it's part of the world. It's there. It's part of the lore. But I'm very glad that they took the approach of not doing a realistic, super huge, Quidditch game. I'm very happy with the current approach. I think it'll be successful. Also, Hogwarts Legacy not being online multiplayer, right, and Quidditch having that as one of its chief, advantages, and rightfully so. I'm very glad that they didn't, and I'm very glad that it's its own game.
As a person that's in the Discord daily, I have not seen anyone bring up that point at all. I think that a lot of people might wonder about, like, is it going to be in Hogwarts Legacy? And the only way that I will honestly have it in Hogwarts Legacy is I would have it in a chapter where, like, maybe you are playing through the season of the second game, and maybe it's a few quick time events that you got to do mixed in with like a cut scene if you plan and things of that nature. That's how I would tackle it. That way you will have the feeling of playing Quidditch, but the developers don't really have to go through and add all of those different features to the game. That's just how I believe it would be. I'm glad that they went with the art style that they did. Like they were saying earlier, like it's just something that's more, it fits in more. You can do more with it, and it helps with the functionality of the game overall. So I think that honestly it would be I like what they're doing, and I think that Hogwarts Legacy doesn't need Quidditch like as a mode on its own, and I have not seen any of that in like from Twitter or Discord from what I've seen.
Yeah, imagine the shock of game journalists lying about things. I've not seen anyone like we're all fully immersed. Like all the tweets you see about Hogwarts Legacy, this game, Quidditch Champions of things, nothing but positivity. And yeah, going back obviously with Hogwarts Legacy, when you played Hogwarts Legacy, any of you guys, did you feel it missed Quidditch at all? Because I didn't. You could fly around. You know, there was the races and things, which was still fun. The balloons. There was a lot of stuff involved with flying. I just don't feel it missed Quidditch at all. And yeah, I agree with a lot of what these guys have said in terms of this game having its multiplayer fits so much better than you just playing as, let's be honest, a seeker again, like in the early Potter games, flying through some rings, catching a snitch. There's no real thrill about it, but with this, it's going to be fun, fast-paced, with friends. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It just suits the game a lot better to have it as this arcadey sort of multiplayer game rather than have it in Hogwarts. And yeah, I don't feel if we do get Hogwarts Legacy 2, like, again, I won't miss Quidditch because hopefully this game does really well and that we're still going with a battle pass, evolving, adding different modes as a live service and things. And yeah, it's just Hogwarts Legacy it doesn't need Quidditch. It's got so much more going for it that yeah, it's a drop in the ocean sort of thing. Where again, it goes into that thing of how much we all said this from the very start when we were doing these live streams. How much you need to do for Quidditch for it to be done justice. You can't do it in a AAA game that has everything else that Hogwarts Legacy does. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I would much rather see Quidditch in a way of a mission where you go to a Quidditch match. And like if in Hogwarts Legacy, why does our character have to be a Quidditch player? He's already the wielder of ancient magic and the savior of Hogsmeade, and why does he need to be good at Quidditch as well? I would rather go in a mission where you're trying to get some information out of someone or find some information out, and there's a Quidditch match going on, and you're actually at the Quidditch stadium and you're watching it. I think that'd be a really fascinating concept to actually just be able to look up and watch an actual game happen, and have it obviously be mapped out to look really well and look really good, but you can sit there and watch like a Quidditch game happen as you're doing a storyline mission. I think that'd be so much better than actually playing it in a not fleshed out way.
Here's the hard truth about all this, right? This was a financial decision that was made, period. If they had spent a lot of time including Quidditch and everything else in Hogwarts Legacy, that's one game.
Yep.
One game, one price.
One game that doesn't have live service.
Right. So with never mind the limitations. Let's just go with just one game with one price. 2 games, 2 prices, 2 times the profit.
Yeah.
Right. That is the trend of things. Like I love the idea. Like it would have been awesome to see like well, as Marauder just said, like people flying around and like watching, maybe even like a cutscene, like a quick cutscene, instead of like a season change or like a class, they show like a Quidditch event, right? That would have been cool. I think Andre is talking a lot about like, well, who are we kidding? Who didn't want Quidditch? Well, here's the thing: we all want Quidditch. What we didn't want was Quidditch to be put in a game and no good service put, or a good developed Quidditch game.
Yeah.
So I think that they knew that. And I think that, well, it's either going to take a long time, well, 1 or 2, we're going to reduce our profits by doing that. And 3, it would have been much better if it's a standalone game. We all want Quidditch. And let's face it, it's a lot better to have a Quidditch game that is focused on Quidditch and nothing else, right? Rather than like a little simple, one or two Quidditch matches on Hogwarts Legacy.
Well, that was one of the main criticisms. You don't have to agree with it, but one of the main criticisms of Hogwarts was it tried to do everything, and that kind of resulted in everything. There were some, the combat I thought was, like a huge standout, but a lot of the stuff was average because it was just across the board. They were trying to do everything, and that's what you find. So I definitely wanted it in Hogwarts, and you get a good laugh when Headmaster Black says, it's canceled and stuff, and I'd like it in a second game too, but at the same time, I understand it would be just another average thing. And I'd rather them try to improve the things that we've had some, issues with in Hogwarts Legacy.
Right.
And then they can focus on everything else. So any final thoughts on the game? We'll definitely be doing this again. We don't know, obviously, dates and stuff, but I think we got a pretty solid team already starting to form. We'll have to put together some events and stuff. Anything you guys want to say, even if it's just a goodbye?
I think to Sway's point, I think if they throw it in the second game, it has to be like a quick time mission event. But if this releases and it's a 7 out of 10, and then they try to add Quidditch into Hogwarts Legacy, I think everyone would be disappointed because it wouldn't be what a dedicated Quidditch game could be. And that's what Russ is saying. I don't need football and GTA, better off separate. I mean, that gave me a good chuckle. So you might as well just put it's separate game, leave it out, maybe put it in the mission like everyone else has said. But no, it can't be.
Anything else, gang?
I hope that we can do the Ronsky feint because I think that'd be really fun if you can actually trick someone. And that's another thing I want to know really badly is there like impact damage from like where you're firing? Like if you crash into like walls, I want to know if that's going to like cause issues for you and stuff. But yeah, that was my sign off.
I think the skill gap's going to be huge because there's 700 rules. So teaching people 700 rules for Quidditch is going to be hard.
Yeah. In some ways, you're going to have to really simplify. And that's, to you guys' point, and people even in the chat were saying it earlier, like you actually kind of forget how detailed or how, how much you'd have to go in. Even like a beater, like the aiming, how does that work? You can make it super simple, but you probably don't. But yet you could. I mean, that's honestly a path they could choose. We don't know how much they're leaning into the cartoony thing. That's going to be a huge thing, I guess, this weekend or next week to see how easy. Because if it's too easy, it goes back to the same thing. It's got to have that challenge. There's a reason Rocket League has really stood the test of time. Car soccer is legendary and it never gets, and there's such a skill curve and you can always get better. It's hard because really, is it the only game? Like, yes, FIFA and Madden and stuff, but these live service games, Rocket League's like the only one that's done it. It wasn't there a Quidditch game that was also taken offline on Steam. Remember, there was like a ripoff of Quidditch. It was called something else. And they issued a statement like a year ago and said we have to take it off. Yeah, so he remembers. I think it was this. I think it kind of had to have been something to do with this picking up Steam.
Has anyone played Roller Champs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how the Patterns are going to be similar to. There's a similar pattern to that sort of game.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that they actually, they somehow incorporate the Wizarding World lore and history of Quidditch into this game. It would be kind of cool to to start, not even at Hogwarts, even before, and chronologically go through the history of Quidditch. I think that'd be kind of a cool touch.
That's what Max was saying, like start from the beginning through the ages of Quidditch. That'd be sweet.
I think that'd be really cool, right? Like the only thing there is like you're trying to catch an animal that becomes extinct almost. So I don't know how they would.
Broomstick League. That was the.
They could just do skin Sly. Like they could like true. 2K did eras this year. 2K eras. So like the filter on the thing. Maybe they have a snitch be a little snidget one time. That would be so sweet.
It would. Be. And it skins and like all the the potential of this game is endless because of the amount of stuff that you can stuff into this game, being multiplayer and having that vibe where you can just grow and grow and grow with your friends. I mean, hopefully we're gonna be talking about this game for a while. and yeah, I'm super excited for it. I'm very positive thoughts on about this game. We don't know nothing about it. We're not gonna know anything about it. All the people who got the playtest, they're not per the NDA. They're not gonna be able to say anything unless if there is a leak
Somebody
of
will
any
split.
sort, right?
Yeah.
Unless if there's a leak of any sort, which there probably will be. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. It'll be a good intermediate game before the other big game comes out, and I think this game will be big. I think but I think it's going to be a nice placeholder until the next big Wizarding World narrative game comes out. So
I'm looking forward to the maps, just to see what different type of maps they put on there. Like obviously Hogwarts would be one, but like the Quidditch championships, like the bigger one that we seen when they were going into the tents and the movies. So I would just like to see how many different ones, even ones from different schools. Like
schools
just
would
give
be
it all to me.
massive.
Atsue,
Yeah.
that's actually what excited me the most about Quidditch World Cup was like the different, like winning.
The
So
ice
you hear, like the
one,
different link, the ice and the volcano and all, and like the old, like what was it, the old one where it's like just
the
like
Quidditch, the first ever Quidditch.
like all of that stuff was super cool. So I really hope they introduce that in.
And I think that's what this art style really can benefit from, that just being super wacky, super strange, and like Last Marauder put it, try to create your own things as well. You can create your own stadium, like with different stands you can unlock if you win at a certain place with a battle pass, unlocking different stuff and just creating your own very strange stadium. Yeah, it doesn't have to be grass. I remember like the ice, but you have a volcano, the like bull arena for Spain and things. It's just with it not being super realistic down to a T and crossing your eyes and stuff, it's got a chance just to explore so many things and do so many wacky stuff out of that. I think that's what I'm so most excited about, to see where it can go in such a fun way.
I mean, it's the beauty of it being a standalone game, right? They can impose their own creative into this game and not have to match like another game like Hogwarts Legacy's sort of patterns.
I wonder what the split is in the studio of these. Their other game is a little bit troubled with Suicide Squad Killer Justice League. So I wonder what the split of how many people are working on each. That's just to throw that in. I found that funny because I think I knew they did both, like when I saw this and I saw on their Twitter thing. And then when I replied to them on Twitter and they thanked me for talking about their other game, and I forgot for a second. I was like, oh my God, Suicide Squad. I'm sorry for the things I've said on Broken Studios.
But on a note though, these guys have been incredible. Like
very kind of down to earth in a different way than Avalanche.
Oh gosh, I mean, they not like with my tweets and comments, like they were commenting to me. 3 of them are following me on Twitter. They have messaged me. Like all of this never happened before. I think these guys are super down to earth. They're talking to everybody. They're listening. I mean, I'm not discounting at all what Avalanche did, right? I mean, what they did, including creators, and I mean that was amazing, right? Did a phenomenal, amazing job there. But I do think that there is a more me as a creator, I can only speak for myself, and I feel that I can connect more with these people than I could with Avalanche, and that's just me. Obviously, there were a small team of people who were able to connect with them a lot more easily than smaller creators like myself. But for them to see us for who we are and appreciate it the way that they are right now, it speaks volumes, right? And I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, a different feel. And this is kind of what we wanted. We had this talk right after Hogwarts Legacy came out of how do you find another team that can kind of replicate that and just kind of be nice to people, be accepting of creators and all that stuff. Honestly, it feels like they did it. And it came from one of their own kind of help studios, right? Like they kind of went looking, but not really, because this is a studio that already helped them before. So, all right, Warner Bros., one more step now, please. Go out, get a third party and make more games. All right.
Go on. Yeah, I was gonna say that I think how Star Wars has now escaped EA and getting all these different studios. I think that's what might hold the Wizarding World back. I was going to ask what other games could be in development, But yeah, Warner Bros. Obviously are liking to keep things in house with lesser known studios. So yeah, it depends. That's my thing now. Go out and do the Star Wars video. Star Wars, every studio is making a Star Wars game at the moment. So yeah, I'd love to see that. Though I feel Warner Bros. Are quite protective of their.
It was like a Diablo style Wizarding World game. Like I think that would kind of be interesting. Dungeons, playing it with friends, but there's a narrative element to it. Like I think that'd kind of be. That's
Wizarding World Destiny. We want it.
Do we?
We want it.
We really do.
We need it.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming. This was a fast get together that we put on just over the last day or so. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure to chat and for people to watch these videos, afterwards, check out these other creators. They all are amazing people. All do amazing jobs, and we'll definitely be back. I'm glad we were able. Truthfully, I'm really glad we were able to do this, and we should be able to do it more, not just with this game, but hopefully over the next couple of years, we'll have others to do as well. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here, chat, and everybody else. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all on the next one.